Hokidemi, shaping professionals for a better future.
Hello everyone, welcome to Hokidemi. Now, this will be a lecture series consisting of total 5 videos in which we will discuss in very detail about the different types of mega projects, the teams involved in it, and what different roles, functions and responsibilities all the members of these teams carry out. So, if we talk about a medium scale project or a small scale project, then the standard structure of the bifurcation of these teams is mainly divided into 5 categories, which will be first the client team or the PMC team. The second will be the architect and interior designers team. Third will be the engineering design consultant team. The fourth will be the contractor team. And lastly, we have the supplier or vendor team. Now, all of these teams will work in coordination with each other during the different stages of the entire project or during the entire run of the project, and they will work in harmony and coordinate with each other at different successive points in that project. Now, if we talk about the large scale projects, then these 5 teams are condensed into a 3-team structure. So firstly, we have the client team as usual, then the architects and designers team. Now the rest of the 3 teams, that is the engineering consulting team, the contractor team and the supplier vendor team, they will act as one team called a EPC unit, the engineering procurement construction team. And we have examples for that like L&T, then Tata Consultancy and Engineering Services. So these are the examples of EPC firms. So these will be the structure in very high scale or mega scale or large scale projects. Now there are various kinds of roles and functions that all these teams perform, like financing, auditing, licensing. Then we have the purchasing of different equipments, their installation, the designing of entire project, and the designing also includes the conceptual plans. Then we have the engineering design. In engineering also there are many more bifurcations inside it. Then we have the different supply, installation, testing and commissioning of different kinds of equipments, machineries, etc. We have the different execution of services. Then the contractors will come in at different stages. Then we'll have the handing over or commissioning of the project or any kind of service. So all these functions have to be performed at a specific time in the project, and we will discuss in detail in these upcoming 5 videos that which task has to be performed at which point of time, who will perform it, and what are the data needed in order to do that task efficiently and on time within the given cost of the project. The engineering design consultant. Now this category comprises of further bifurcations of mainly the 5 teams, namely the project coordinators. Second, we have the civil and structure engineers. Third, mechanical, that is the piping and HVAC engineers. Fourth, we have the electrical engineers. And lastly, we have plumbing and firefighting engineers. So we will also see all the roles of different teams that are involved in the engineering consultancy company further in detail. Again, depending upon the size of the company, sometimes these teams have an in-house architect in their team. So the architect and interior designer team we saw earlier. So there is a composite team of engineering consultancy which also has in-house architects. And if the firm is at a very big level, then all the 5 teams mentioned here work under the same roof of a big or giant engineering consultancy firm. Okay. Now starting with the first one, we have engineering consultant, civil and structure team role. Now the first step here, just let me put on the laser pointer here. Now the first step or the first role of this team is to collect the project data and understand the different requirements. Now we need to understand or map out that the engineering consultant comes into the picture after the client has established his needs and requirements from the entire project and also established his vision that what he or she wants. After that, the architect maps out a certain kind of master plan or does some initial level of planning, and then the engineering consultant comes into role. So the engineering consultant here will collect data from the client as well as the architect team. Okay, so here they will collect different kinds of project data, like what kind of buildings you want to build or construct. Then they will coordinate with the architect team or the project coordinator from the architect and interior designers team, that what have you planned or what is the level of master plan that you have done till now, what is the size of the building, what is the capacity of the structure you want to build, and all these things. So they will start with all this data collection and mainly estimating the requirements and understanding the different requirements of the project. Now, after collecting the master plan from that, the first thing that a civil or structural team will do is they will study the entire zone or site for the given area depending on its location. So in India, we have 4 seismic zones, zone 2, 3, 4 and 5. So depending upon the location of the site, the zone will be decided and the entire earthquake design of the building will be done keeping in mind the seismic zone of the site. Again, they do the local area study, that is, they do the entire surveying and contour study of the area. They study the zonings of different levels. They see what kinds of margins are allowed by the local government authorities, what is the FSI, and how much structure they can build or how much height or floors they can establish, all these things. So after doing the seismic zone study and local area study, the surveyor here does the soil bearing report and the contour survey study. Now generally how it works is that the client or the architect will beforehand hire a survey team that is different from all these teams that we have seen. So the survey team will conduct a contour survey of the entire site. They will see up to what level cutting and filling is needed in the site. They will also prepare the SBR, that is the soil bearing report of the site, that is what kind of foundation will be needed for constructing our structure, which will be decided upon the SBR. Now one point that I missed to mention here is that the civil and structural team will also study the wind load of the entire structure that is to be built. So if we take an example, the same kind of structure and the same size of structure, depending upon the site, say we have it in a very stagnant region where the wind is very low, the basic wind speed is very low, whereas the same structure is to be built on any seaside or seashore where the basic wind speed is very high. So there will be a vast or huge difference in the structural design of the same type of structures at these two different locations. So we need to do the wind load study as well. All these studies, wind load study, the seismic studies, the design of the entire RCC structures or RCC members of the structure is done keeping in mind the IS codes provided in India. All these codes vary from country to country, so keeping in mind the codes that are provided by the government, the entire civil and structural designing is done. Now structural designing is a specialization, so not every civil engineer is authorized to do the structure planning and structure designing of a structure. So a certified structural engineer who is eligible by the laws of the government, that is only allowed to do the structural planning or structural designing of any kind of structure. Okay. Secondly, they study the equipment, dead and live load, also the man movement load. Now what do you mean by the equipment, dead and live load? We will take the most common example that almost every building or any size of a building, that is a house or a large complex, they all have different and various sizes of pressure pumps. Okay, So now these pressure pumps, they pump down the water from the terrace area to the entire building and plumbing line. Now these weigh from 10 kg to around 1000 kg, but that is their dead load. Now in a stable condition or non-working condition, they just lie there, these equipments. But when these equipments are working, they impart very high level of vibrations and they create a very high level of impact load on the structure. So we also need to consider these vibrational loads and impact loads that all these equipments produce. Now when we are designing some kind of hospital or a factory where multiple amount of equipments are installed, may it be any electrical equipment or machinery that is required in the factory, they will have enormous and huge amount of vibrational loads. So the civil or structural team needs to keep in mind all this equipment dead load as well as live load, that is the loads these equipments impart when they are in the working condition. After that we have the man movement load, which is commonly termed as the live load. Okay. Now the man movement load depends heavily on which kind of structure you are building. Say in a factory, the amount of man movement is not as high as it will be in a commercial complex or in some offices where the machines are not there. Okay, so depending upon the type of structure, the live load is considered and then the design is done as such. Now up till this step, we have done all the types of data collection, different types of studies, that what kind of structure has to be built or needs to be built. So after these data are collected and formulated, the actual designing begins. So the structural team or the structural engineer will start designing the structure as per the needs. There are very specific and prescribed methods for structural designs. So the structural engineer will design each and every structure that is present in the site, may it be any building or any type of infrastructure or road design, the road sections, everything. Okay, and after the structural design is done, the civil engineers and the structural engineers will give us or provide us with different types of drawings that come under their scope. They can be any and every civil engineering drawing that is needed on the site. For example, the foundation engineering, for example, the drawings of the foundation, their sections, different sections and elevations at say slab level, then the plinth level. Then the structural engineer provides us with the bar bending schedule, then different kinds of road sections, etc. So all these working drawings are provided us so that the actual execution can be started at the site. They also give us or provide us with the tender and BOQ, the bill of quantities. Now, if we go very methodically, then the tender and BOQ should be prepared after the entire complete detailed drawing is done. Now, if we go according to the standard procedures, the tender and BOQ should be done only after the detailed drawing design is over by the engineering consultant, but it takes up a lot of time. Okay, now generally what happens or what the protocol is on the site is that a rough tender or rough estimate and bill of quantities is prepared beforehand, before even the engineering consultant provides us with the detailed drawings. That is, the engineering consultant will give us a rough estimate of all the tenders and BOQs of all the items and materials that are needed. He will give us or provide us with a rough sketch of the building or structure that is to be made, so that the contractor can begin his work, and in some time that the work has commenced, the engineering consultant will provide us with the exact or final detailed drawings. Okay, so in this way both the parties can save time and the work can be completed in a faster period of time. So in this slide we saw the engineering consultant civil structure team role. So summing up, we have seen the different kinds of data and requirement understanding that the civil team does. Then they study or map the entire area of the site. they decide what kind of structure needs to be built according to the plan provided by the architect, and finally they provide us with the structural and the civil detailed drawings, tender and BOQ. Okay, now we have the engineering consultant mechanical piping team role. Now in this slide we will understand all the roles of the engineering consultant on the mechanical side. Now in order to understand the various aspects and roles of a mechanical team, we will take an example of a mechanical engineering consultant doing work for some kind of industry or a factory, because that is where they will have the maximum number of roles. And in different projects like a residential complex, a commercial complex or a hospital, they will have a very less number of roles as compared to the industry, which will all be covered in the industry. So now, taking an example of any kind of industry, firstly, the first role of the engineering consultant is to collect project data and understand all the different kinds of requirements. Now, what kind of project data is needed by the mechanical engineering consultant? So firstly, the consultant will meet up with the client and collect all the data regarding the process machinery in detail. Now, say we take an example of any pharmaceutical industry, and specifically we say any LVP IV industry that the client wants to start. Okay, so now the client will provide the consultant with different kinds of process machineries, that what kind of machinery will be needed in order to produce the LVP, the large volume parenteral, for the IV fluids. So now let's take an example that the client wants to establish some kind of pharma industry. So now the engineering consultant will ask the client that what kind of different process machineries will be involved, so that he can map out the different types of utilities that will be used in the entire factory. Also, the consultant collects the data from the architect, that is, he collects the conceptual layout that the architect has prepared beforehand for the entire factory. By this conceptual layout, he can roughly plan or map where the different kinds of utilities will go. So what kind of design he needs to do, he'll be able to understand that from the architect's data. Now, since the data has been collected, now the actual work of the consultant begins. So firstly, his role will be to prepare a room data sheet, RDS, and room-wise equipment requirement data. So what kind of RDS does a mechanical engineering consultant prepare? So in the RDS, he will list all the rooms and all the different types of utilities that will be required by those rooms in a particular building or a plant. And he will also list out the different kinds of process equipments that will be installed in those rooms. So he can plan the different utilities from the utility block till that room. And so he will prepare a RDS for all of that. Secondly, we have the utility requirement. That is, different kinds of utilities are steam, air, RO, DRO, SRO, soft water, then pure steam, gas. We might need some kind of fuel for certain processes. If some particular kind of gas has to be provided for carrying out a process. So all of these requirements are then calculated by the mechanical engineering consultant. So once he prepares the RDS and he understands the requirement of the entire factory or the entire campus or plant, then he will prepare or calculate the different kinds of utility requirements according to the different types of buildings that are to be provided from the utility block. So for example, the utility block will constitute of different equipments or machineries like the boiler, then different utility So the utility block will contain heavy equipments like the boiler, DG set, air compressors, etc. So once the RDS is prepared, he submits these requirements that are needed for the plant to the client. Now the next role is the utility equipment capacity finalization. Now once the capacity has been calculated by the engineering consultant, He will sit down with the client's team and debate whether this amount of utility equipments or that capacity is actually needed or not, and then they will collectively come to a specific figure that, say, a boiler of X tons steam is needed, a cooling tower of this capacity is needed, etc. Say a boiler of X tons is needed, an air compressor of this capacity is needed, etc. And once the capacity is finalized from both the sides, then the last role of the engineering consultant here is to coordinate with the different types of vendors on behalf of the client. So what he does here is that he submits to the client specific requirements of the different kinds of equipments and machines, like boiler, DG set, air compressors. He will also coordinate with the RO plant installer if needed. Then different kinds of tanks and pumps, if a hydropneumatic system is needed, sewage treatment plant, then effluent treatment plant, wastewater plant, etc. He will coordinate with those vendors on behalf of the client and see to it that the required capacities are being fulfilled. Finally, he will prepare the different equipment layout, their piping and pipe rack drawings. Now, after the vendor is also finalized, after the entire utility capacity has been decided, once the kind of equipment is decided, then he can prepare a layout of those equipments and their installations inside the utility block, and what kind of piping and pipe rack drawings will be needed. So different kinds of pipes and pipe racks will be needed depending upon the room requirements, or depending upon how much distance is there between the utility block and the building that the pipe are needed, etc. Okay, so finally, in summation, there are three major roles of the mechanical piping or mechanical engineering consultant. The first one is to collect data and prepare a RDS for all the utility requirements that are needed in the entire plant. Second will be the utility equipment capacity finalization. So from the RDS, he will decide or he will calculate the capacity of different kinds of equipments that is needed. Third, he will help in floating the different inquiries for different kinds of equipments to the vendors and coordinate with those vendors for their installation and final order. And lastly, the preparation of equipment layout once the vendor has decided what kind of equipment is to be supplied. Okay, so this was the engineering consultant mechanical piping team role. Now moving on, next we have the engineering consultant HVAC team role. Now, of course, the first and foremost step for this team will be project data and requirement understanding. Now, what kind of project data is needed by the HVAC consultant? So the HVAC consultant will collect different types of data, like what kind of heat load is to be generated from the different types of machines or equipments which are to be installed, what kind of heat load will be there due to the man movement, all these things. So he will decide what kind of AC system or air conditioning system will be needed there. Second, he will prepare a RDS and room-wise AC requirement data. So once he has collected the data of different kinds of heat loads that are produced from, say, the process machines or equipments, or the number of people that are present in that particular room, he will map out all those parameters in a document called RDS, and he will decide room-wise AC requirement, that how much tonnage of AC is needed in this particular room, what kind of system are we going to install, and all these things. After that, he will also look after different area classifications. Now, what does area classification mean? So I'll just explain to you in a very brief that in some industries, a different class of filter or different class is given to a room that is provided us by the government only, that this class A, B, C, D, etc. classes will be needed for this kind of process or this kind of equipment. Then the HVAC consultant will decide that this class of room or this class of filters has to be installed in this particular area, and all these classifications will be submitted to the client and as well as the architect. Now here this consultant is in constant coordination with the electrical engineering consultant for the different types of designing of ducts. So the electrical cabling and all that will sometimes intersect with the HVAC piping. So he coordinates with the electrical engineering consultant and designs the ducting systems in coordination with him. Now next we have the conceptual RCP layout. RCP is reflected ceiling plan. So here the consultant prepares the RCP in coordination with the architect and electrical engineering consultant. So here they prepare the different types, how the different types of ducts will be engaged in a room, what kind of grills will be there, if some kind of filter is needed at that grill or not. Say this particular room needs a HEPA filter, then this clean room will need this kind of filter. So he will coordinate with the architect and also the electrical engineer for the conceptual RCP layout. Next, grill and piping routing layout coordination. So as I said earlier, the different types of grills, and the grill is the outlet for any kind of duct that is to be provided in a particular room or particular area, and different kinds of filters are used for that grill, or sometimes there may not be any filters if not needed. So he will prepare that entire layout in coordination with the electrical consultant and the architect. Then he will also decide the entire piping routing layout, so that his pipes or the piping that is to be installed for the HVAC equipments does not intersect or conjunct with the electrical pipe racks, or say from the utility room, etc. So he will do all this planning in coordination with them. Lastly, we have the chiller, cooling tower and AHU finalization. Now the number of equipments that a HVAC consultant has to design or install is very limited. This almost only contains the chillers, CT cooling towers and the air handling units. Now depending upon the type of heat load and depending upon the processes that are going to be conducted in the building, the HVAC consultant will provide the client with a specific capacity for different chillers, cooling towers and the AHUs. Now when these equipments are finalized with the vendor, he will coordinate with the vendor and see to it that the specific capacity equipment is being delivered, and also coordinate for the installation. The installation is always done by the contractor. He will also provide us with the indoor and outdoor unit layout, that this indoor unit of a AC, where is it to be installed, then where will we install the outdoor unit for that AC, and how will it look at the elevation and etc. And he will also look after the different types of pump piping. Okay, so what did we understand in the HVAC engineering consultant team role? Their main role is to collect the data from the client regarding the different types of loads that are to be exerted in this particular area. They will prepare a RDS for that according to the room and decide the AC requirements. They will give us different types of area classification depending upon the IS codes provided. They will provide us with the RCP layout, grill and piping layout, and also they will help in the equipment finalization from the client side to the vendor. Okay. Now next we have the engineering consultant electrical team role. Now the first role of the engineering design consultant or his team is for sure the project data collection and understanding the requirements and the vision of the entire project. Now what kind of data does an electrical consultant need? So firstly, he will need the process equipment data from the client. That is, if we are planning for an industry, then what kind of process machineries will be coming into the factory, so he can do the entire electrical design based upon it. That data will be collected from the client. And for all other projects like hospitals, commercial buildings, residential buildings, these equipments won't be there, so a simple electrical engineering design will be done. Now he will collect the conceptual plan from the architect. So up till now, depending upon the vision of the project and the type of the project, the architect has already prepared a conceptual plan, which we looked in the before part of the video. So the consultant will collect the conceptual plan from the architect so that you can plan the different electrical services and layout depending on that plan. And finally, the engineer will also need the load of all the equipments that are used in the utility block. Now this data will be collected from the mechanical utility piping consultant. Now different types of loads are exerted by these equipments in the utility block. The equipments like boilers and some heavy duty equipments which need a high amount of energy for their running. So all this data will be collected from the mechanical consultant. Now next we have the room data sheet and room wise power requirement data, and this will include the load list, the specifications of the DG, different instruments and equipments like DG set, transformers, ST and LT panels, the AP-FCR, that is the capacitors, stabilizers if needed. So what all things will be included in this RDS? So now the RDS will be entirely prepared based upon the requirement of the lux level of the particular room. So the lighting fixtures and the amount of light will be decided or designed by the electrical engineer depending upon the level of the lux that is required in that particular room. So if it is a cabin or the working area, so the staff or personnel will need to read some things. There will be a minimum fixed lux level for that area. Then if we have some process area, some quality control area, so depending upon the lux that is needed, the electrical consultant will decide the type of lighting fixtures. Then RDS will also include the electrical equipments like design or number and quantity of fans, then CCTV camera if needed, computer systems, then lights as we talked about, then if the power that is needed is single phase or three phase, if we need a stabilized power supply or not, then the stabilized power should be uninterrupted, that is we need to use a UPS or the inverter will work. So all these things are decided and designed by the consultant, and a RDS sheet is prepared. Now this also includes the different cables as we talked about, the lighting fixtures. Cables will be of many different types that we will cover in the contractor part of this entire module, that the electrical contractor, so it will be covered in detail in that. Then different types of lighting fixtures as we talked based upon the lux level, and also some if special type of or modern type art lighting is required. Then UPS, the uninterrupted power supply is needed or not. So if UPS is there, then the architect has to set up a different space in the conceptual plan for the provision of the UPS and the storage of batteries there. Then if there is some kind of automation lighting, then SCADA, CCTV, CPTP, all of these things. Then we have the master plan, a point of power supply, and electrical inspector approval drawings. We'll talk about all these points in detail. So what does master plan include for an electrical engineer? So some clients, especially in India, are very much inclined towards the planning of the entire campus or entire structure based upon Vastu. So there are some fixed and specific directions for certain things that are provided in the Vastu. You can always get them from Google. So for example, the southeast corner should be the energy source as per the Vastu, so the southeast corner of the campus should be the energy source as per Vastu. So the electrical engineer will suggest the architect for this, or the architect may already know this point. So that thing will be incorporated. Then what is the point of power supply? Now depending upon the location of our campus or our site, the electrical engineering consultant, and as we saw before, this electrical site engineers from the client side, they will coordinate with the licensing team, and they will bring in the power supply connection from the local government authority. So the government of course does not come and give you the connection right up till the building that or the transformer that you have installed. So they will provide you with the power supply up to a certain point on the boundary or inside the campus. So you need to decide that point of power supply, and from that point onwards it is your responsibility to distribute the power into the entire campus as and when needed. Okay, so this point of power supply will be decided by the engineering consultant in coordination with all the other respected parties that are included. Then we have the electrical inspector approval drawings. Now this is a drawing that the engineering consultant provides us, and this drawing includes of many different things, like it includes the entire master plan of the campus, it includes the point of power supply as we discussed before, it includes the key plan of the site. Key plan is that it will include the campus itself and the adjoining plots also, in order to show the location of our plot or our site, along with the survey number that are assigned to us by the government. Then it will include the SLD of load distribution up to the substation or panels, not the SLD of each and every connection point in the building. It will be up to the main load distribution, substation and panels. Okay, so the single line diagram will be included. All these things are included in the approval drawing by the design consultant, and then they go to the electrical inspector, that is the government authority concerned, and they get it all passed so that they can bring the connection from the government. Okay, now their last role is to design the different power and lighting, design the power and lighting requirements. They give their drawings, they decide with the SLD, that is the single line diagram of the entire campus. They decide a cable schedule. Now a cable schedule is something which is provided to the contractor, that this specific or particular size of cable, this type of cable, for example we need FRLS cable or FR cable, anything, that all these cables will be needed from this point to this point. And finally they prepare the BOQ and tender as needed. Also they decide whether a transformer of the 66 by 11 kV is needed or not. So if the power requirement of the campus rises above a mark of 4000 kVA, then we will need a 66 by 11 kV transformer switchyard substation. Now if the power requirement of the entire campus rises above 4000 kVA, then a 66 by 11 kV switchyard substation is needed. So if the power requirement calculated from collecting this different data from all the clients and different utility machines, if the power requirement rises above 4000 kVA, then the electrical engineering design consultant will design a substation and switchyard that is 66 by 11 kV. Okay, so this brings us to the end of the electrical team role. Now we will just recap what we learned here. So first and foremost, the project data is needed. The consultant will design the RDS and provide us with the RDS. Then they will decide the different paths and layout for the electrical services. They will work with the electrical inspector for the approval. And finally, they will design if a switchyard or substation is needed there for this particular capacity. And lastly, any consultant will help the client with preparing the bill of quantities and tender for the items that are included in his scope, so they can afterwards appoint a contractor based on that tender. So the consultant will coordinate on behalf of the client, or they will help the client in choosing the contractor by preparing a BOQ and tender. Okay. Now next we have the engineering consultant, plumbing and firefighting team role. Now their first role, as every consultant, is collecting the project data as required, and then they will prepare the RDS and room wise water requirement data. Now what kind of data is needed by these consultants? So they will need the data from the client as usual, that what kind of water requirement is there in the campus. Then they will take the entire conceptual plan from the architect, and they will also consult the mechanical consultant that we saw earlier for knowing the exact water requirement of different equipments and machineries. Okay. Now their next role is to study the local rainfall data and also the soil strata study. Now what does this have to do with any of the planning? So what this is needed because different type of rainfall. So now the second role of this consultant is to study the local rainfall data and also the soil strata study. Now this will help us determine what is the amount of water that will be needed by the campus. So if the rainfall is in a pretty good amount, then the water supply won't be needed much for the landscaping portion and watering the trees or plants that we are growing in the campus, may it be any industry or any big campus, any residential campus, anything. So this study will be done. The number of trees will be approximated, and the amount of water they will be needing will also be decided upon this. So all these studies are done for taking out a rough approximate. So this study will be done to take out a rough approximation. Okay. Now next we have the water system design as per NBC study, then water balance diagram, borewell, tank and pumps. So after studying all the water requirements of the campus, or say the machines and equipments that are to be used, they will now design the different so now they will design the different equipments and pumps that are needed for the circulation of this specific amount of water. Also we'll take an example. Say if we are talking about an industry and a certain process needs say 100 liters of water in one cycle of the process. Alright. Now and the evaporation rate of the water is 15% per cycle. So we won't be needing 100 liters of water every time the cycle is to be repeated. Once we inject the 100 liters of water the first time, once the cycle is completed, now we are left with 85 liters. Okay. So now we'll need the hot water from the process will go to the cooling tower. It will be used in the next cycle. So now at this point we will need 15% of the water, that is 15 liters, that will be injected in for the second cycle or the consecutive cycle. So this is known as the makeup of the used water in a certain process. Okay. So depending upon what type of the process is being done or what kind of equipments you are using, this entire cycle is set up, and the plumbing consultant will look after the entire water flow of that process. Then they will also consult with the architect and the client if again the Vastu point comes here into role, that there are certain directions for the placement of water tanks. So generally the water tank is kept in the north or northwest direction, so that will be planned again. Then they will be designing the piping network, then stormwater drainage, septic tanks, STP, the sewage treatment plant, the recharge wells. These are the structures designed if needed, so they will be done on a need basis. So if they will design an entire drainage system simply for the storm water. That is, if high amount of rain is there, then we'll need to channelize the water so that it does not get collected in the campus. They will calculate the runoff coefficient of the hard or soft surface to design the rainwater and stormwater drainages. So again, the soil strata study and local rainfall data study that we had done comes into picture here, again for the entire designing of the drainage system. Again, the recharge wells are designed when this quantity rises more than when the entire. So the recharge wells are designed when generally this is designed when the size of the campus increases or it is larger than 20,000 square meters. So all these things are kept in mind by the plumbing consultant. Now we'll talk about the firefighting team. So the main role of there is to design the fire water tanks, then piping systems, sprinklers and fire detection alarms. Okay, these are the general norms that all the structures are mandated to follow all over the country. But there are some special structures where special designing is needed, especially for the fire detection and alarm as well as sprinkler systems. Now these are just some specific rooms, like in a hospital where high capacity or high load equipments are used. So especially in the hospitals and some specialized rooms in certain industries, their fire detection and alarm system and sprinklers are designed differently as opposed to the general designing of the firefighting. And lastly, we have the plumbing and firefighting working drawings and BOQ and tenders. Now after the entire data study, then coordination with the different consultants, all these data are, and the design is done by the. Now after all the data study and coordination with different consultants, the plumbing consultant will give us or provide us with the different working drawings of the plumbing systems or drainage systems, as well as the firefighting working drawings, so that we can hire a contractor and the execution can be started. Again, as all the consultants, they will help us in making the BOQ and tenders for hiring a contractor. So summing up, what we saw in this slide is the data collection. Now the data is collected mainly from the client, from the architect and the mechanical consultant for the different water requirements. Then they will study the site or the campus for soil and local rainfall. Then depending upon that data, the certain systems are designed if needed. Then the piping network is designed, drainage systems are designed. Then the firefighting and fire detection systems are designed depending upon special cases, that is the production area or internal area in some certain hospitals. The fire systems are designed differently. And finally, the working drawings are provided along with the BOQ and tenders to the client. So this brings us to the end of the entire team of the engineering design consultants. So what did we or what teams we saw in this team, or what teams did we see in this category? So we saw the civil and structural consultant team. Then we saw the mechanical piping team, that is the utility piping team. Then we saw the HVAC team, then the electrical team, and finally the plumbing and firefighting team. Now in order to summarize the work of a consultant, may it be any kind of consultant, they can be divided into three parts. First is the data and data collection and understanding the concept or the vision of the project. Then designing different services and designing the different loads or different equipments based upon the loads and the data collected. And finally, once the design is done, the third role and the final role of the consultant is to prepare the working drawings for the same and prepare BOQ and tenders so that they can float inquiries for the different vendors and choose the contractors for the execution. Sometimes the consultant do coordinate from the client side, or sometimes they just provide the client with the BOQ and tenders and the client appoints the contractors themselves. It depends on the type of project. Okay, so this brings us to the end of the engineering, consulting, designing teams.
Hokidemi, shaping professionals for a better future. Hokidemi is aiming to be the world's largest learning platform for engineers and architects. Hokidemi will help you to develop your skills in project design and management, to become team leaders and project managers in mega structure projects. Hokidemi provides learning by high-quality video lectures in all sectors like power, industrial, commercial, institutional, residential, etc., based on 1,000 plus real projects done by our group on Hokidemi.com. To study in detail with books, drawings, articles, and catalogs, visit Hokicart.com. Please like, share, and subscribe our channel to stay updated on our latest contents.